And welcome back to the Engage A podcast. NFL draft happened over the weekend. Day 1, 2, and 3 were pretty exciting to watch as a fan perspective, but now that I've caught up on some film on some guys in the day 2 and day 3 range, and I'm ready to talk about it. We're going to go through the first round with each pick individually, and then we'll go sort by team and talk about some guys that stuck out to me that I paid attention to or that I watched in this previous college football season. For the first pick, Bryce Young, we already know my opinion on him. I thought Bryce Young, as the draft process continued to go over and over, I still liked him as my second. He was in that second to third range for me. I personally like Stroud is my favorite quarterback out of this draft just because he's got more size and I feel like he just possesses as much arm talent and downfield ability as Bryce Young. But Bryce Young with the number 1 overall pick, I cannot be mad about. At number 2, we have C.J. Stroud. My favorite quarterback out of the draft, personally. I mean, he did have the best weapons at Ohio State, too, especially in his first year. And then in the second year, I mean, you still have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to be the top receiver going in the 2024 draft. And you got Emeka Ibuka, who's also going to probably be a first to second round receiver in next year's draft. So let's see what he does in the NFL level. He also had 2 amazing tackles and a nice interior center at Ohio State as well. See how that develops. Number 3, Will Anderson Jr. from Bama. Jr., his, not this past season, but the season before that, he probably should have been in the Heisman finalists over Aiden Hutchinson. He was very dominant. And I mean, this year, there was just a lot more defensive focus on him, and Bama wasn't as productive, but Will Anderson still did more than his own. And there's the reason why he's the number 3 pick. Happy that the Texans got 2 studs in a row, and hopefully they hit. Anthony Richardson at 4. A lot of it is patience, and I completely agree with that take. How patient is the Colts going to be with these quarterbacks? They haven't been patient enough with their veteran quarterbacks, probably, which, I mean, it's okay, but I don't know what direction this puts them in. There probably should be a rebuilding team. They probably need to get more weapons for this guy. But, I mean, I love the Anthony Richardson ceiling, but that floor is also really low and due to his lack of being in games or not having as much game experience as the other quarterback prospects. Number 5, Devon Witherspoon, a do-it-all corner, very physical, very good in press. He does well in zone 2, is a pleasure to watch at Illinois. A lot of people are saying him and Christian Gonzalez were in the same playing field. I would take Devon Witherspoon over Christian Gonzalez any day. Christian Gonzalez has the speed, but Devon Witherspoon is pretty close, and he checks all the other boxes as well. At number 6, you got Paris Johnson Jr., who I believe is going to be able to play right away, but he's going to be a guy that also needs to develop a little bit as well. And I think he's just someone that needs game experience and playing at another level up in the NFL. And I think he'll turn out fine. I don't think he's not much of a problem yet. He's just got some technicality to work on, but he looks very promising. Tyree Wilson, not my favorite edge prospect to say. Obviously, Will Anderson Jr. was my number 1. I mean, he played very well this year. He's able to create a lot of ruckus on the edge. He's fast, physical, very nice in size, had some injury concerns at Texas Tech. I didn't watch too much Texas Tech this year, but I know when Tyree Wilson was on the field, I was able to recognize him very easily. And we'll see what he does with the Raiders. Hopefully he's that second counterpunch with Max Crosby. So at 8, Bijan Robinson to Texas. Steve Sarkisian, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing his name, said that this guy was the best receiver at Texas, and he's their running back. And you got guys like Xavier Worthy and Lorenzo Cain and other guys out there as well that I can't name off the top of my head right now. Jordan Whittington, there's another guy, for example. And Isaiah Naylor, who ended up not playing last year. But still, they say that Bijan's a better receiver than all that guy. That could also just try to put a big boost in his draft stock. But, I mean, he showed that he's able to catch the ball, and his elusiveness and able to what he can do in an open field and what he can do with a lot of green in front of him. Beat out a ton of guys with the speed, very strong physical running back. He's going to be fun to watch in the NFL. He's in this next wave of running backs for sure. At number 9, Jalen Carter. I don't think there's too much to be said. This guy was going to be a consensus top 3 pick before all the character issues and everything that I'm not going to personally speak upon. I only care about the football side of things. And yeah, I mean, he was the best. Honestly, he's probably the best defensive player on Georgia for 2 years in a row. So that's all you need to say about that. Down all right at 10, very good pass blocking tackle. I think he's going to also be able to fit in really well and help that Chicago Bears O-line. Obviously, we'll see what happens throughout the spring and the fall. And hopefully by that time, the Bears got a lot to show this season, see what direction they're in, if they're going to stay on the bottom tier, if they're going to try to move more into a mid-level tier and try to compete for a wild card spot. At number 11, we got Peter, I can't say his last name, Skodoransky, out of Northwestern. Pretty decent tackle. He shows some stuff on film, but his physical tools aren't the greatest, and he doesn't have that awe factor that I like to see out of an offensive tackle. But playing in Tennessee, let's see what happens. Hopefully this isn't like their tackle that they drafted in the 2020 draft. I can't remember this name off the top of my head, but I think it was Isaiah Wilson or something. I don't know. But yeah, let's hope he's not like him. At number 12, Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama. I don't honestly think that there's obviously in hindsight, people are going to try to have these redrafts and everything like that. Me personally, I like Jahmyr Gibbs. He was honestly Bama's best receiver at times, and he was also a great running threat, really good in open space. Alvin Kamara type players is a big comparison. Yeah, he's gonna mess stuff up in Detroit. That's for sure. At 13, Luke Van Ness. Iowa defense is really good, and one of the reasons why is Luke Van Ness off the edge. I think he's gonna be able to go in Green Bay. Hopefully, keep this team still afloat. See what happens there. Someone that I didn't really pay attention to too much, if I'm going to be completely honest, but I think he's solid, and obviously the Packers have a lot of faith in him, so we'll see what he does there. Broderick Jones at 14. I think this is honestly a great value pick for the Steelers. They traded up to get this pick to jump ahead of the Jets. He shows a lot of great stuff on film, big physical offensive tackle. I think he's going to be able to go in there, maybe not play left tackle, but he's going to for sure be on the field somewhere. He's a pleasure to watch. At 15, Will McDonald, the fourth out of Iowa State. Iowa State was an okay team this year. And Will McDonald, he's good off the edge. He's, what is his measurement? 6'4", 240. He's explosive. He's going to get in that backfield purely off speed. And he's got good technique, stuff he can work on, but Will McDonald wasn't someone honestly that I expected to get picked at 15, but it happens. At 16, Emmanuel Forbes. This guy is just a ball hawking corner. That's all you really need to know. He thinks that there is a pass that he cannot pick off. So if that's what tells you about this guy, honestly did not expect him to go this high either. I'm going to be honest. I think not reach is just, but there's a reason why there's NFL scouting departments, and there's a reason why people get fired and people get hired, because they can either recognize talent or they can't, and they waste a draft pick. So we'll see. This is the thing where you're going to have to come back in 5 years and be like, hey, what about this guy? At 17, Christian Gonzalez, really fast corner. I think he's great in zone technique. I think, he can work on it a little bit. But, he's someone that I'm really like. The Patriots got a steal at this. He should not have fell to 17, but, that's just the name of the game. At 18, Jack Campbell out of Iowa, a very good interior linebacker, able to fill those A gaps and B gaps very well. Pretty good at coming downhill. He's all right in coverage, but, that's just something you're going to be able to work on. But I really like him. He's a solid all-around linebacker. Reminds me of a little bit of Luke Kuechly, obviously a lot more, maybe a little bit more bigger, maybe like a Brian Urlacher. But, at 19, we have Kalijah Cansey, the D-tackle out of Pittsburgh. Don't know too much about this guy, to be honest. Didn't watch much film on him. 6'1", 281, not the biggest in size, but his from the scouting report, they say that his initial quickness, low center of gravity, and ability to shoot his hands. I watched the draft. I saw the 3 or 4 highlights that they show. And let's see what Tampa Bay does with them. They're going to have to find that Gerald McCoy replacement. So at 20, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Everyone knows how this kid is. If you need to watch any game of JSN, go watch his game against Utah in the Rose Bowl. And even watch his 2021 season highlights. A kid's a stud. I mean, obviously he didn't play this year. He played very minimal this year, so you don't know what he put on film or anything like that. But, I mean, he ran at the combine. He's a great all-around receiver. I mean, he's probably better in the slot than he is on the outside, but, hey, I think it's the right pick for him, to be honest. 20 Oh, yeah, because Miami doesn't have their pick. 21, 22, whatever. Quentin Johnston out of TCU. Biggest receiver, has a lot of speed, his explosiveness, able to get not the greatest technical route runner, but he still creates separation. He's not the greatest in contested catching situations, but I mean, that's why he's got time to develop. And honestly, Keenan Allen's one of the best route runners, and he's a really good pass catcher too. And I think he's going to be able to get help out and get developed by the Chargers staff. He's going to be playing with a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, and he's going to have his college quarterback Max Duggan there as well. At 23, Zay Flowers out of Boston College, really shifty, crafty. You know, this guy's 5'9", and you're like, why is he going so high? Because he can literally do it all. And the Ravens, that team, I mean, I know Lamar's contract and everything, and, you know, Antonio Brown apparently saying that he's going to come back. But, no, I like Zay Flowers. He was great at Boston College. He played with Phil Yurkovich, who I really liked, and I know he transferred. Where did he transfer? I think he transferred to Virginia. But, yeah, we'll do also a transfer portal episode in the near future, just because now that the April window is closed, and there's a lot of people, including some Michigan State players that entered that we need to talk about. But we'll get to that in a different episode. At 24, Jordan Addison. I think Jordan Addison, he's not I would compare him to JSN just because he can do it all of it on the outside and inside. And he played with two pretty good quarterbacks too, and still was able. I mean, that USC wide receiver room was loaded with Mario Williams and other guys as well that I couldn't name off the top of my head because we still got some USC spring ball to watch. But yeah, Jordan Addison's one of my favorite people to watch. I mean, his film at Pittsburgh, you can even go look at, or if you can go look at his stuff at USC, it's still going to show that he was probably the best. He was definitely the best receiver in 2021 and damn near it in 2022. Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Good pick for the Giants, to be honest. Very physical corner. And, yeah, I mean, that's all you really need to know. I've watched some Maryland football this year. Their coverage was actually really good throughout this season. I mean, go watch their game against Michigan. They did a phenomenal job. 26, Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. Someone I really liked. Was a big factor in both USC games for sure. What's his face? Cameron Rising used Dalton Kincaid a lot as his favorite target while in the Utah offense. At 27, you got Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. Really good D tackle. I know he had some stuff around his name near the playoffs with charges and everything, but Mozzie Smith, he's a pretty damn good tackle. Was eat up in the interior for Michigan this year a lot throughout the rough Big Ten season. And yeah, now he's a Dallas Cowboy, and there's a lot of workout videos surfacing of him. But, you know, at 28, we got Antoine Harris out of Oklahoma. This guy, I don't know if he's going to be able to play right away. He's definitely looks like he's going to be a high upside tackle for sure. But maybe they get him at guard or get him at center. You know, they just need him to probably play a little bit. He didn't look completely polished out of Oklahoma, but he's got a year to develop, and we'll see what happens. Myles Murphy, a pretty big steal for the Bengals because this guy was supposed to be 3 months ago in the mid to high first round. Now he falls to 29. Myles Murphy, a nice physical DN. He does it all, man. I like him. He's gonna get in that backfield, and he's gonna be nice for the Cincinnati Bengals. Brian Brees at 30. He was very overhyped, in my opinion, at the beginning of this draft cycle. I think this is where he belongs to fall. He's still a solid D tackle. I just didn't think he was in the Jalen Carter realm or anything like that. 31, Nolan Smith. I mean, he was a leader on Georgia as well for the linebacking crew. He got hurt, so there's that injury concern. But, I mean, if you're running a 4-4 authority at his size and his height, it's game over. And then the last pick of the first round, Felix Anduke-Uzama out of Kansas State. Kansas State, him and Julius Brents, which I'll be able to talk about a lot when it comes to these mid-rounders that went. They were the leader of the Kansas State defense. I mean, the Kansas State offense was awesome with Malik Knowles and Deuce Vaughn, Will Howard, Adrian Martinez, you name a ton of guys on that offense. But this kid, I mean, he was really good, and so was Julius Brents. So now we're going to go by teams. We're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the first-round pick in Paris Johnson Jr. B.J. Ojulari is going to be a nice outside linebacker, edge-type guy as well. Clayton Tune's going to be a guy that if they can get him to be a serviceable backup, I was watching some stuff on him. Michael Wilson's also a really nice guy out of Stanford as well. That kid's going to be able to play for the Cardinals. You watch. It's going to be a name where you're going to be like, it's not going to, I don't know, because I don't want to say like, oh, it's going to be an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of guy. But he should be a guy that definitely gets out there. He makes a lot of contested catches, very good off the line. That's one that he's able to create separation within 3 steps. That's something that I really like. Atlanta Falcons, Zach Harrison, solid. I like Clark Phillips III, very good at Utah this past season. Other than that, I couldn't tell you too much about the other guys. Clark Phillips is a very nice corner. I mean, he's a little undersized, but he's gonna get your job done for you. That is for sure. Trent Simpson, solid linebacker out of Clemson. Clemson defense has been good for numerous of years, and he contributes to that. Tavius Robinson's a nice edge presence. He isn't going to be the guy that dominates, but he's going to be in there to get him for plays and go get to the quarterback. He might be a guy that's not going to get 10 to 12 sacks on the year and be a dominant force. He's going to be a nice secondary piece on a very good team and going to be able to do things for that team to contribute to winning, which the Baltimore Ravens are looking to do that. For the Bills, Justin Shorter's a solid wide receiver. Not the greatest at creating separation, but he's very lengthy. And he's a very good intermediate route runner when it comes to crossing routes and curls and everything. So he's definitely someone that's going to be, he should get a little bit of playing time with the Bills. He might need to develop a little bit. But, I mean, he's 6'4", 230. He's going to be solid for sure. For the Carolina Panthers, Jonathan Mingo, the Ole Miss wide receivers with A.J. Brown, Elijah Moore, DK Metcalf. I think he's going to be in another realm of those. He's pretty solid, pretty tough. He's got that more A.J. Brown build to him. And then, that's a target for Bryce Young to throw to an SEC guy. So, I don't know too much about DJ Johnson, Chandler Zavala, or Jamie Robinson. Chicago Bears. I know Tyreek Stevenson, him and Ivy. I can't remember his first name. They're both pretty solid this year. Tyreek Stevenson's a very good athlete. I think he could use some technicality work. Obviously, Miami has not been successful, but their defense was solid this year. He was obviously a big contributor to that. Zach Pickens, South Carolina, very physical D tackle, but I mean, he's just got some technique stuff to work on a little bit, but he's going to be able to go in there and give some solid reps. Probably going to be maybe hold down the interior defensive line for the Bears. Roshan Johnson, Bijan Robinson's backup. He's solid. I mean, there's nothing too much to him that I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. But, I mean, he's going to be a guy that he's going to be a nice rotational back for sure. Tyler Scott, undersized receiver, but he will be solid. And then Noah Sewell. Noah Sewell is a big dominant force. Not a big dominant force, but he was probably one of the leaders on that Oregon defense along Christian Gonzalez. And then Noah Sewell was a multiple-year starter. And I think he's going to be a guy that can go in and give some solid reps for the Chicago Bears. DJ Turner ran the fastest 40 time out of the combine. DJ Turner him and Will Johnson played on the outside a lot at Michigan this season, which Will Johnson will probably be a top corner prospect in the 2025 draft because he is only a freshman. But, I mean, DJ Turner's got the speed. He's going to be he might play special teams. I'm not positive on that. But for the Bengals, I mean, he's fast. He's got some technical work, but, hey, you can't teach speed, and I think he's a solid zone coverage guy, and he's going to be able to follow guys in the NFL and keep up with them. Jordan Battle's a solid pick. Been a multiple-year starter on Bama. Nice all-around safety. Wasn't the leading safety. That was Brian Branch, the Lions pick. But, I mean, still, he does everything that you want to out of a safety. Charlie Jones, a solid, the leading receiver for Purdue. Very, very good at all 3 levels. I mean, there's nothing much else to say to that, to be honest. But, I mean, he's going to be a guy that's going to have to come in and be a slot receiver for the Bengals with their three-headed monster and Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, but he's going to be able to go in there and be a nice safety net. Chase Brown's also a really good running back, and that means they probably don't have to sign Joe Mixon to a big contract, and I know they lost Shemajian Pirine, and then Andre Ozavis. I actually saw this from a guy named Rico Knows. This kid, I mean, he was really good at an Ivy League ball and put a lot on tape that I was like, that's eye-popping. And now that he's a sixth-round pick, I mean, he might be able to pop for this Bengals receiving corps and make it very, very, very dominant. Or they don't have to pay one of the three guys. I mean, if you were to do that, it'd probably be Tyler Boyd just because he's older, but still. And then their seventh-round pick, DJ Ivey, that's who it is, the guy that played with Tyreek Stevenson. I watched the Bama film on him, and he played a lot in the nickel and also played on the outside as well. Pretty decent in size. He measures in... Wow, they don't even have it on here. I mean, started 33 games. He was playing... So, I mean, if he's playing 33 games, he's probably played about 3 seasons, especially within that COVID year. What I saw on film, he's decently in length, and, I mean, he's pretty good in zone. He's pretty good at not getting burned, so... For the Cleveland Browns, Cedric Tillman, I thought he's honestly better than Jalen Hyatt if healthy. If he would have stayed healthy that whole entire year, Jalen Hyatt probably wouldn't have had as much production. But Cedric Tillman, a nice all-around good lengthy receiver. Honestly, probably should be able to play for the Browns. Saiki Ika out of Baylor. This kid's a dog, dude. I mean, he misses some tackles here and there. He's very good. He's very strong. I think he could work on his balance. And lower body balance, you know, he overcommits a little bit too much. This is a guy that I wanted to watch film on. And, this kid, if he develops in the right way, it could be very, very, very solid for the Browns for the next couple of years. And then DeJuan Jones, obviously, the big tackle out of Ohio State. He measures in at 6'8", 375. I mean, it's just a conditioning thing for him and getting him up to speed and fixing some of those technicality issues. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who is a very good dual threat quarterback out of UCLA. Let's see how much time he gets. Maybe if the Deshaun Watson process doesn't work out, he might have to step in there. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, no. All right. Dallas Cowboys. Luke Schoonmaker. Very solid tight end out of Michigan. I'd say they're the second best pass catcher this past season other than Ronnie Bell. I like him a lot. DeMarvion Overshown, very, very, very high ceiling. This kid, if he gets into the backfield, you better be praying to God because he's going to come hit your head off. Pretty solid in coverage too. But I mean, this kid, he pops on tape. Very cool moment of Deuce Vaughn getting picked by his dad as well. Deuce Vaughn's he's the shortest player in the draft at 5'5". But man, he was also a very short player in college, and I mean, he got it done for sure. That is a matter of fact. Very, very pleasing to watch Kansas State this past season. And Jalen Brooks, when I was watching Jaheim Bell tape back when he entered the transfer portal, Jalen Brooks is a guy that would lead in receiving and was solid throughout the whole entire year in South Carolina. And I mean, Spencer Rattler probably doesn't have that end of the year resurgence if Jalen Brooks is not there. So for Denver, Marvin Mims, I mean, this kid, he probably could have been a top receiver at Oklahoma had it produced more, even though Dylan Gabriel played fine. I mean, he's a pretty solid receiver. He's definitely going to play for the Broncos. Drew Sanders, I mean, he's a dog at just going and getting tackles. And, I mean, that's all you really need to know about Drew Sanders is he's got that dog mentality. Riley Moss, he's a pretty good defensive back. Don't know if they're going to have him play safety or corner. But regardless, very solid out of Iowa. Detroit. Sam Laporta, the tight end out of Iowa. I think he's an all-around solid tight end. I think he's going to be able to go in and do his part. Brian Branch out of Alabama was the head of that secondary, able to play in the nickel and play the free. Let's see what he does. He'll probably play more in the back end with Kirby Joseph, hopefully. Hendon Hooker, I'm glad that the Lions did take Hendon Hooker. I'm glad they got him so late, too. If he would have been a second or first round pick, I probably wouldn't be as happy, but now he's a third round pick. And, I mean, he's got the potential to develop. If he recovers from that ACL, he probably would have been a first round pick if he never got hurt and was very, very good at Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee doesn't run the most pro-style offense, so he's going to have to get up to speed in that regard. But Yeah. And then Antoine Green, the receiver out of North Carolina. He was the counterpart to Josh Downs, and I mean, hey, he's solid. He can make catches. He's obviously not as talented and right now as Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs has the better contested catchability and the route running and everything. But Antoine Green, man, I mean, he's going to probably be able to play for this team and get in there and catch some passes. The Packers went weird. They select Luke Musgrave, very, very project-oriented tight end out of Oregon State. Jaden Reed, who I watched plenty of at Michigan State. I think he's going to be a very good impact on the special teams. And in the slot, Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State, I've seen some stuff on as well. Don't know why they picked 2 tight ends, but hey, what do I know? I don't understand the Sean Clifford pick. I mean, he's an okay mobile quarterback, but he's not very good at throwing. And then Lou Nichols, the third out of Central Michigan. I mean, he was one of the leading rusher. He was the leading rusher in the country at one point, the year that Kenneth Walker went to the draft. So that's all you got to know about him. He was very solid, though. Tank Dell, Houston wide receiver. That's going to be a pass-catching target for C.J. Stroud. A little bit shorter, but, I mean, hey, he's going to be able to do works out of the slot, and he's very quick and very crafty. Henry To'oTo'o, finally, he's coming out of college, right? It feels like he's been in there for about 80 years. Yeah, I mean, very solid linebacker, played at Tennessee, played at Bama. He's going to be a good guy. And then Xavier Hutchinson, the Iowa State receiver. He's very good. I mean, Iowa State's quarterback was not very good this season. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the name off the top of my head. But, I mean, this kid, he's got a very nice catch radius, very good deep field production. And, I mean, he can get it done at all 3 levels. Colts, Julius Brents was one of my I loved his Big 12 championship game film. I mean, he had the 1 pass interference, but other than that, I mean, he was a pleasure to watch at Kansas State, like I said. Josh Downs, one of my favorite, probably my second favorite receiver in the draft, other than my bias towards Jaden Reed. Not that I think he's the best, but he was, I mean, him and Drake May, man, they were a dynamic duo. I mean, even before that with Sam Howell, still Josh Downs was able to produce, so I don't think there's any concerns in that. Hopefully, him and Anthony Richardson have a connection for years to come. The DN out of Northwestern, not even going to try to pronounce that name. Very solid. They also got Evan Hall, who was pretty productive at Northwestern as well. Also got Jake Witt. He's got a really cool story. Was at Northern Michigan, was there for basketball. Quit basketball to focus on school. Went and tried to play tight end for Northern Michigan, and then learned offensive line in the middle of a game against Ferris State, the D2 national champions. Played there, and then he just focused on being an offensive lineman, and now he's going to pursue a career in the NFL. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Jacksonville, Brenton Strange, very solid tight end out of Penn State. I think Parker Washington, who they ended up drafting anyways, is a better pass catcher, but Brenton Strange is going to be able to do it all. Tanks Bigsby is a solid running back out of Auburn. Obviously, Parker Washington. He's a very good receiver out of Penn State. He made, honestly, he's probably the reason why Sean Clifford got drafted. That is for sure. That's about all I'm going to say. Rashee Rice is a solid receiver out of SMU. Very crafty route runner for sure. But, I mean, let's see what he does at the NFL level. For the Chargers, Tuipulotu was probably the most dominant piece on that USC defense. You know, not a lot of bright spots on that defense, but still, wow, they took 3 TCU guys. They took Darius Davis. So they took the 2 top producing receivers. Darius Davis is a solid receiver out of TCU. Was the number 2 receiver to Quentin Johnston. But, I mean, he could get it done. He is a very nice possession receiver. Still a good route runner. Checks every box, to be honest. I know he's a 4th-round receiver, but he's going to be, I think he's got the potential to be something. And, I mean, TCU might be rough next year now that I'm seeing all these picks. And then they took Max Duggan, who's a very solid dual threat quarterback. Won I want to say it was the O'Brien Award. Byron Young out of Tennessee, very solid edge rusher, was Tennessee's edge pressure this season. I mean, it didn't really show against Georgia, but Georgia is kind of like a different monster. But they're very solid off the edge. Stetson Bennett ended up going in the 4th round, so he might have to come in if Matthew Stafford doesn't produce again this year. They got Travius Hodges Tomlinson, the Thorpe winner. Very good corner. That's all I'm going to say. I think he honestly could have gone higher. I don't know. I honestly don't know why he didn't. But, I mean, he's definitely on the shorter side, but so is a lot of corners. Michael Mayer, surprised he dropped to the second round, to be completely honest with you. I wish the Lions would have took him. Byron Young, the D-tackle out of Bama, pretty good. Aiden O'Connell was the fourth-round pick out of Purdue. He's solid. I mean, he was a walk-on at Purdue. He had big games at Purdue. I won't lie. He had that game against Michigan State where he had like 500. Yeah, we don't need to bring it up. Okay, he also had David Bell too, but still. Chris Smith, also a very good safety out of Georgia. He was a guy that I would notice on film a lot. When I watched that Georgia team, it was a very nice, solid back-end piece. Was able to come and be in the run game and everything. Cam Smith, a solid corner out of South Carolina. Other than that, Devin A-Chain's a very good running back too. If you need to know who a Devin A-Chain is, go watch that game against LSU. That's all I'm really gonna say. For Minnesota, Jaron Hall was actually a very good QB out of BYU. Had a really strong start to the season. Then they had that game against Baylor, and things kind of became shaky. And then they lost to Arkansas. But, and BYU moving into the Big 12 next year. I mean, Jaron Hall is a solid quarterback. He's got solid physical tools, has okay mechanics. So we'll see what happens out of there. Couldn't tell you really anyone else about this Minnesota team. Like, I should know who Mekhi Blackman is. But, the coverage really didn't pop on USC this year. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Kayshon Boutte. I can't believe this guy fell. I mean, we know kind of why this guy fell to the sixth round. But, I mean, he's a very good receiver, and I think he could still do wonders in the NFL. If you look at the LSU receivers, you got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, even Odell Beckham. And, I mean, there's other guys that I'm not even bringing up. But, like, those are some big-time names that have been good in the past years. And this guy, I mean, he's got the potential to be – he probably would have been a second-round pick if things went differently. Also got my boy Bryce Behringer and Amir Speed out of Michigan State. Amir Speed can be solid. Bryce Behringer's a solid punter. Yeah, honestly, couldn't tell you too much. I've heard of Keon White, seen some stuff on him, but couldn't to give you an in-depth. Kendre Miller, very good running back out of TCU. Sucks that he got hurt in the semifinal game, but, I mean, they still had Mercado be a guy, and he filled in well. Foskey's a solid edge guy out of Notre Dame. And A.T. Perry, he's a pretty good receiver. He was Sam Hartman's right-hand man for about 2 years. So, yeah, maybe that's why Sam Hartman transferred to Notre Dame could actually be a playoff contender next year. I'm getting a little sidetracked. Jalen Hyatt, honestly, could have been a first-round receiver. He's got crazy speed, very profound route runner, best deep threat in the draft. There's a lot of things that are right with this guy. And you know what? New York Giants are rocking with it. They got to give someone Danny times to throw the ball to. So, yeah, but I'm glad that they didn't reach on a receiver. They wait for someone to fall in their hands, and they got a pretty good guy that fell in their hands. That is for sure. Israel Abanikanda, very good running back out of Pittsburgh. And then Jurek Bernard Converse was also a really good, solid player in that Bama game, and he had solid production throughout the whole entire year. That LSU defense with B.J. Ojulari, Harold Perkins, and Bernard Converse, I mean, those two guys that, what team did we just look at? I'm not completely honest, but I mean, they had a lot of solid pieces for sure. But LSU was also a pretty good team this year. Sidney Brown, a very solid safety out of Illinois. Keely Ringo has very good physicals for a corner in the NFL. He's just, I mean, if you watch him in the games throughout the season, you see the very highs where in like the Tennessee game, he played pretty well. And then, I mean, he's just got some technical stuff to work on. He penalties, gets a little too physical at times, but make the technicalities right for him. He's going to be a very good corner. Tanner McKee out of Stanford, also a pretty good quarterback. He was the reason why Stanford beat Notre Dame this year. And I mean, he's big. He's got an arm. He can use his legs too. So very very promising. Joey Porter Jr., very good corner out of Penn State. Canu Benton out of Wisconsin, very good D tackle as well. They also got the physical beast in Darnell Washington. That's about all I'll say for Pittsburgh. For Seattle, they got Zach Charbonnet, very good running back out of UCLA, transferred out of Michigan, went to UCLA, and he ended up being really productive with DTR in the backfield. Mike Morris, a very solid edge guy out of Michigan State. Or not Michigan State, sorry, Michigan. Watched a lot of Michigan this year, sadly. Same with their center. I don't even want to try to say that. Olezgun Oluwantami. I don't know. I can't say it. But very good interior lineman. Didn't allow a single sack on the season, according to PFF. And then Kenny McIntosh. I mean, Georgia used about like 18 running backs, but I mean, he was one of them. And I mean, he was pretty good. He was able to do a lot of stuff out of the backfield. The 49ers got Cameron Liu too. D. Winters is a very, very good linebacker, a very good value pick. Showed out. If you watch that Michigan game, he showed out for sure. You'll know why. D. Winters, he probably got drafted because of that game. And then Ronnie Bell. We love Ronnie Bell over here. I'm sorry. Let me get through the rest of this. Cody Mox, a solid offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. Trey Palmer, also a very good receiver. Was the only reason why Casey Thompson, honestly, had any sort of production. And then these last two teams. Tennessee, Will Levis fell to them in the second round. Tajay Spears is a very good running back out of Tulane. Pittman, the quarterback, was able to use him in the run game and pass game, and it was a very nice production piece. That is for sure. And then to finish off the Commanders, they got Jartavius Martin, very solid safety out of Illinois. And then Chris Rodriguez, their running back. He was a very good, nice piece for Kentucky. And Kentucky's O-line was a lot better this year. He probably would have produced that a lot more. All right, so that's the draft. That's just my draft recap. Honestly, it's going to take time to see what these guys develop. I paid a lot of attention. That's why I was able to bring up a lot of names, and I wasn't able to even bring up everyone. I wasn't able to bring up every, like, the 300 picks or however many players are in the draft every year. I think it's 262, right? Because, Mr. Irrelevant and everything. But yeah, I mean, pretty long episode, to be honest with you. But I mean, I enjoy talking ball, and we're going to get back into college football. We're going to continue to talk about these teams throughout the spring. And then when we get to seasons, I mean, we're going to be able to do our game recaps, whatever, storylines, transfer portal news, rankings, all of that. I mean, we're going to see, hopefully the AP poll comes out in the near future, or keep looking at these lists, obviously with the second window of the transfer portal closing, of guys entering, we're going to see where guys go. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Yeah, stay tuned.